Hello, and thank you for joining me in this section of the Engaging Web Archives Conference. My name is Helena Byrne. I'm the Curator of Web Archives based at the British Library, and I'm going to be speaking about annoying football phrases on the archived UK web space. So for a bit of background, the UK Web Archive is made up of the 6 UK legal deposit libraries. It's the British Library, National Library of Scotland, National Library of Wales, Bodleian Libraries of Oxford, and Cambridge University Library and Trinity College, Dublin. So this year is actually quite a special year for the UK Web Archive. We're celebrating our 15-year anniversary. So in 2005, when the UK Web Archive first launched to the public, we were archiving websites on a permissions basis. It wasn't until April 2013, with the implementation of the non-print legal deposit regulations, that we were able to scale up our web archiving program and start our annual domain crawl. And actually just about 2 weeks ago, we launched our 2020 domain crawl. And so keep an eye on our Twitter accounts and our blog for more updates on how that is going. So sports have always featured in the UK Web Archive. Previously, we had some special curated collections around Olympics and especially London 2012, and also around the Glasgow Commonwealth Games. But it was only really since the end of 2017 that the legal deposit libraries have come together to actively curate sports more generally. So as you can see, we've got 3 dedicated sports collections, and you can read a little bit more about them on our blog. But there's a general sports collection, and then we felt that football, soccer, rugby, Gaelic football, any kind of foot and ball sports was the most popular form of sport in the UK, so it was deserving of its own curated collection. And then we have sports international events. So this is where we had our previous collections of grouped together. And then when the UK is hosting any future major sporting events, then we hope to build collections around them as well if they generate a significant amount of UK published content. So football cliches. Cliches have been a long-standing part of football. In recent years, linguistics of football has become an area of interest for academic study. It is also the subject of some popular books. Increase in media time to discuss football has led to an increase in the use of clichés in commentary. This increase in use has also led to a dislike for this type of commentary and resulted in lots of most annoying phrases lists online through mainstream media and online forums. So a bit of background to how this research project came about. So publications on the language of football have used various resources to gather their data. However, none of these studies have used the archived web. It was when reading Jane Winter's chapter in The Web as History, when she was commenting about how the Oxford English Dictionary choices for their word of the year, she said that the choices and incidences of those terms in the archive of the UK web space for 1996 to 2013 reveals that the selections of the dictionary's experts are mirrored or even driven by online trends. So it was with this in mind that gave me the thought, how useful is the trend search and shine to determine the popularity of football phrases on the archive.uk web? So as part of my data collection, I just typed in annoying football phrases and reviewed the list of the first page of a Google search. For women's annoying football phrases describing women's football, I had to conduct a survey through my own social media networks. Because even though there was millions of results on Google, none of them really referenced women at all. It was all about men's football. It took me a long time, but I did eventually find one little video that was produced by BBC Three, where they had some female footballers talking about the phrases that they found annoying. But that was just only one example I could find. So the survey really helped me to gather this data. This was the final numbers of phrases that I reviewed. So in men's football, I reviewed 343 phrases. Women's reviewed 123. So the total number was 466. And these were the top 5 phrases from each section. But I'll just give you a couple of seconds to just scan through this. So as we can see in the men's football, there were variants comparing players to whoever was the most popular male footballer at the time. So in more recent examples is Messi, Ronaldo. And for the purpose of this study, I just used Ronaldo because Ronaldo has played in the Premier League, whereas Messi hasn't played in any of the UK-based leagues yet. And so we can just see how many instances of these phrases appeared in the data that I collected. However, when we also look at them, you can kind of notice the difference between the types of phrases that were found deemed annoying in men's football versus that of women's football. And so women's experience in football virtually replicates their more general experience, that they have been treated as not only different to men, but also inferior in many respects. So if we look again at those phrases, you can see that the men's phrases, they're pretty generic, they don't really mean anything. Whereas we look at the women's, they're quite derogatory. Even the fact that they have to use the gender prefix to describe the sport, the same sport, which isn't needed when you're describing men playing this sport, kind of shows the kind of othering of them. So Shine. Shine was developed as part of the big UK Data, Arts and Humanities project funded by the AHRC. The data was acquired by JISC from the Internet Archive and includes all .uk websites crawled between 1996 and April 2013. The collection was full-text indexed by the UK Web Archive. This means that every word of every website in the collection can be searched for and analysed. This graph illustrates the number of resources archived each year. As you can see, in some years, more resources were archived than in others. So this is really important to be aware of when you're looking at how the spikes in some of the graphs show up on Shine as well. So the trends function on Shine allows you to compare how popular different phrases are across the dataset. This example shows the disparity between football and soccer. Although soccer is seen as an American word, it actually was first used in England and was picked up by the Americans, but fell out of general use in Britain. So football is a generic term to use to describe any football game. If we refine our search of the word football to exclude other codes such as rugby, Gaelic, American, Aussie rules football, we get different results. So this is a comparison of two searches. So one is a simple search of football versus soccer, and then we have the soccer and football, but excluding other codes of football that aren't soccer. And you can visually the graphs look the same, but if we can see at the top of the A and B example, there's quite a difference in the number of results for each year. So in this simple search here of just even the terms used to describe football, so we've got women's football, ladies football, girls football, boys football, and men's football. There's a big disparity in how the gender prefix is used. The yellow line shows the popularity of men's football however, you can see that it's quite low. It doesn't feature as high as many of the other codes. And if we drill down closer, we can see how this phrase is used. In the early period of the data set, it's mostly used when we're talking about women's football, but comparing it to men's football. And then in the middle of the data set, we can see that online shopping becomes more popular. So the online retailers need to use the gender prefix to describe men's football when they're selling their clothes or accessories to make it easier to retrieve. And then there's a spike in 2012, and this is because London hosted the 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and the Olympics is one of the biggest sporting events in the world, and one of the few sporting events that equally uses the gender prefix for both men's and women's sports. Whereas if we look at other major sporting events, like in soccer you have the World Cup for men, there's no gender prefix used, whereas it's always Women's World Cup used to describe the female version of the same event. So what are the most annoying football phrases in the UK archived web space? So we're just doing a simple search for men's football, put in the searches and football. We can see that a game of two halves was the most popular phrase, most annoying phrase. And then we did the same again with women's football, and you can just see that actually the term itself, women's football, was the most popular because of the gender prefixes usually used. But then if we do a more refined search where we're using the not Gaelic football, not rugby football, not Aussie rules football, we can see actually there's not that much difference visually in the graphs, and we can see that we've got the same results, a game of two halves for men and women's football for the women's phrases. But if you actually look at the numbers of resources archived for those years, there's quite a drop in the numbers with the more refined search. So the main issues when carrying out this project was duplication of records. So in the early years of web archiving, many web pages were archived multiple times, and so they'd have multiple versions of the same record. A single host can spike results, and some phrases either are too generic or too unique. So in one of the previous searches, hit it too well, I had to use a not golf next to it because it's a term regularly used to describe golf. And as every word on every page is searchable, most sites have a football tag. So even though the sports section could be talking about golf, it's still going to come up as a result because the word football is going to be on the page somewhere. And too unique. So one of the women's phrases that came true was couldn't kick snow off a rope, and that was one I'd never heard before. So that flatlined with 0 results on Shine. So football is and as I said, football doesn't need to have many websites, so you do get a lot of phrases used outside of football. So a game of two halves is quite generic and can be used to describe some different political situations as well. For example, it could be talking about politics, but because, as I mentioned, that it's got a football tag on the page, it will come up in your results. However, this data set can give us a general overview of how popular certain terms are over this period in time. And Niels Brugger has pointed out in his book, The Archived Web, that with big data, we'll often be satisfied with a sense of general direction rather than knowing a phenomenon down to the inch, the penny, and the atom. So with this, it is impossible to give a definitive answer to the research question posed in this paper. But as long as the search parameters are clearly outlined, then the results to the search query should be seen as valid. And these are just some useful links to more content in the web archive. And you can follow us on Twitter and follow what's going on our blog. So thank you.